All right, so for our next exercise, we are going to require while statements. So they are while loops, to be more precise. So let's open up a recent project. So we can just go to Kotlin Basics, because that's where I want to show you the basics, right? So in the last time we looked at those comparisons, we used all of those vals and vars, but now we're going to use the while statement. So we can go ahead and create a variable called count, and this variable will be our counter variable. Now, the next thing I want to do is I want to use this while loop. Okay, a while loop is basically a piece of code that executes itself again and again as long as its condition is true. All right, so while something that is inside of this bracket here, or inside of these two brackets, is true so long this content will be executed. All right, so this here you should never do, because this will be an infinite loop, because it's just true all the time. So it would be true, then it will be true again, and true and true, and would execute and execute and execute. So you can run into an infinite loop and this will crash your application, so never do that. Okay, so what you should do, however, is have a condition here that can at one point become not true. So how can we get there? We can compare if count is less than 3, for example, and you can see it's still complaining. It says it's always true. So we need to make sure that this condition in here is at one point not true anymore. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to make sure that we increment count. So by doing this here, count plus plus, what we do is we increase the value of count by 1. Okay, this plus plus is basically the same as saying count plus 1. Okay, so this is just a longer version, and we can also say plus equals 1, or we can say plus plus. So all of these three options are the same logically. Okay, they do the same thing. They basically just increment or increase the value of this variable called count. So it starts with 0. Then we check, is 0 less than 3? If that's true, then increment this number. And what we're going to do is we're also going to print it out. So print line, and I'm just going to say count is $count. Do you recall we used this dollar before when we wanted to get the value of a variable? We can use that dollar as well for numbers, which then automatically will be converted into strings by default. So we don't even have to do that manually, as we had to do it when we wanted to get an integer out of a string. But when we want to use a integer inside of a string, it's not a problem. So in this case, you can see it's just going to display the count for us. So if we run this code now, let's run it, and it will build the Gradle once again for a little bit. And you see it says count is 0, then it says count is 1, and then it says count is 2. So this while loop here enabled us to basically keep going until the condition wasn't met anymore. So after 2, count is incremented to 3, and 3 is not less than 3. 3 is actually equal 3, which is why our count is 2 at this point, and it jumps out of this while loop, and then it prints out whatever comes after. So we can just add in here, loop is done, or ran through. So let's rerun this code and see what it does. It says loop is done after count is 0, count is 1, count is 2, and loop is done. Okay, so that's what we can do with while loops. There are other types of loops, and we will cover them once we actually need them. But for now, you just need to understand that there are these concepts called loop, which allow you to execute a piece of code multiple times. Now, in this case, we used a while loop that used a number as a comparison variable. But we can also use Booleans as comparison variables, because this actually is a Boolean. So the result of this is just a Boolean. This is just a condition that we are putting in front of it. But in the end, the comparison of it will return a Boolean. So count is either less than 3 or it is not less than 3. So if it's less than 3, then it will return true. If it's not less than 3, then it will return false. All right, so that's basically what's happening here. So that's a little example of how you can use the while loop with numbers. I just want to show you another quick example in the next video where we're going to actually enter something manually and it will loop through it as long as a certain condition is met. So see you in the next video.